There are very few characters that I am drawn to as much as Jinx. She has both a tragic backstory and a presence on screen that really engages me as the viewer. Ella Purnell deserves so much credit for bringing the character to life, along with Riot Games and Fortici Productions for creating Jinx. Having a great voice actress and great animations really makes her shine. But it's also the writing and her story in Arcane that sets Jinx apart from most characters, whether it be in films, TV shows and games. So I'm going to explain why Jinx is such a great character. First of all, the series begins with the death of her and Vi's parents, which is sad, but to be fair, it's not like we haven't seen this sort of thing before. But it's there to set up their relationship of being closer than ever and having to stick together. Sure, they had Vander who looks after them, but after losing both parents, they had that us against the world mentality as sisters. Now of course, she wasn't always called Jinx. She was called Powder in the first few episodes, tagging along with Vi, Milo and Clagger causing havoc and mischief. I love the fact that Vi takes Powder with them parkouring through Piltover, even though she is way too young to be running through rooftops like Ezio in Assassin's Creed. But credit to her, you know, and she just about makes those jumps. But you can tell she lacks a bit of self-belief, and Milo especially thinks she slows the gang down. She does have some skills of her own though, which I do like, and that is fixing things and putting things together. Like her little grenades that tend to fail more often than not, but she's learning. However, when they find out that Vander has been taken by Silco, they tell Powder to stay put. But after crying uncontrollably, she looks at the Hextech crystal she stole from Jace, makes a bomb and heads to Silco's lair. This is where things start to take a turn as she sees that Vi is fighting off Silco's henchmen and that Milo and Clagger are struggling to get Vander out of there. So off goes Powder's Hextech monkey clapper bomb thing and everything goes wrong, leaving only Vi alive. Powder approaches Vi thinking she has saved the day, but when Vi finds out that the explosion was because of Powder, which killed Milo, Clagger and eventually Vander, she punches her and calls her a Jinx, leaving her in the process until Silco finds her. And by this point it's too late for Vi to apologise as she is taken away. This moment was so emotional with Ramsey's song Goodbye playing, and you really felt like everything was about to change. And it sure did. In the next episode it is years later and Powder is no longer. Her name is now Jinx. Her entrance in episode 4 was brilliant. Her little grenades actually worked and she came across as a sort of trickster type character working for Silco. She fights the firelights and notices that one of them has red hair like Vi. And this is where you start to see that internal conflict between her old self Powder and what she has become. You can see the sadness in her eyes as she remembers her last moments with Vi. And it shows that although she is now Jinx, she hasn't totally forgot about her past, nor is over it. The animations also did a great job of showing her internal conflict in the next scene, where Milo and Clagger appear frantically in her head like ghost puppets while she tries to convince herself that everything's okay. She appears so erratic and it's very cool seeing her wrestle with her own thoughts and emotions. It's also amazing how she makes me like Silco. Silco of all people. By this point he's like a father figure to her and she wants to make him proud, even though some of her methods are questionable to say the least. Adding to her personality, she is genuinely really funny. The way she appears out of nowhere in most of her scenes had me in bits, especially when questioning the bartender in the last drop. He was petrified of her while she called him Chuck and left a paint bomb on his back. And the cheek of her to say to Savika that I feel like you and I got off on the wrong arm. Oh man, that's a brilliant little line that. And just when it looks like Savika has got under Jinx's skin, she sneezes and kicks her chair away. So funny, and I love how unpredictable and chaotic she can be in most of her scenes. Now soon after she finally reunites with her sister Vi, and it looks like Powder may not be lost after all. But after seeing Caitlyn a Piltover enforcer with Vi, she quickly reverts back to Jinx. And after we get to see that crazy erratic side to her again. It's really interesting to see her fight off her demons, and they are without doubt some of my favourite parts of the show. Again, those animations are crazy good. And throughout the show I was always questioning if Powder was still really there, as even Echo couldn't finish Jinx off after telling Vi that Powder was gone. So it all came down to some sort of messed up tea party at the end, with Vi, Silco and Caitlyn still alive, with two chairs, one with Powder on it and the other with Jinx. I know of course that Jinx is a popular League of Legends champion, so she was most likely going to stay as Jinx. But because of her internal conflict throughout the show, I really didn't know for sure. But in the end, after regretfully killing Silco, and after Silco's last words being that she was perfect the way she is, she decided to stay as Jinx. She believed that Vi would never accept her for who she truly is. It was such a heartbreaking and poignant moment. You know, as a viewer, you always hope for the happy ending. And looking back at clips of when she was pad, it's actually really sad to see the difference, but it's who she really is. Therefore, Vi and the world needed to accept that. And I'm sure if the council are all dead by Jinx's actions at the end, then she will always be known as Jinx. There is really no way back for her at this point, but it sets up season 2, which is already confirmed, and by the sound of the promo, Vi is going to go after her. And it's probably not to have another tea party, so that will be interesting to see what happens next. But overall, what a character. Every scene she was in had me on the edge of my seat. It's rare that I care about a character so much. And like I said at the top, Ella Purnell, Fortici Productions and Riot Games deserve so much credit, and I can't wait to see more of her in the future. Like, subscribe, and see you very soon.